Just want to say, first and foremost, I told y'all the Bears were going to get good. Okay. When I picked them because I had watched the HBO special Hard Knocks on them, I said this is going to be a good team. I really liked Caleb. He was young, he seemed hungry, and he seemed like he wanted to do this. So I said, that's going to be my team. Now, when I would go about out into the world telling everybody, I'd get some side eyes and some chuckles. I even heard, yeah, you'll change your team in a few years. But looky, that team that everyone laughed at has made it to the playoffs. Now, what they'll tell you is, well, I just don't like that Caleb paints his nails. And I just know that they've been, historically terrible. I don't care about none of that. I don't care about none of that. When I picked that team, just know their whole trajectory changed. With me, that whole situation was going to change. Now that I got that off my chest, I just want to say not much is happening in our local news. Not much is even happening in the headlines. Things are unfolding, and as they unfold, we'll learn more and we'll get into it. But for now, we'll just discuss some things, you know, discuss some things that happened last week that are developing this week. And yeah, that'll be the end of that episode. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of Black and Classic Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Monet, where we talk all things politics and pop culture.
That blackness, that black power, that black pushing them to identify with black culture. I think that's what you're asking. I have no.
So, jumping into our recap. Now, let me tell you, the last week's episode, we talked about policy, protests, and power. And as per usual, the people on TikTok had a lot to say. So, the first one, Mark82 said, "You're a psycho. I don't care when a fentanyl addict dies because they were so high they had a heart attack. Any more that I don't care that a white woman tried to run over a police officer and got murked for her troubles." Okay. We got another one. David Molehill 61 says more white people are killed by cops than black people. Okay. V said white people get killed by police too. It's not a new thing. The news just doesn't show it and no one makes a spectacle about it because they were most likely committing crimes. Okay. Here's the thing, right? And I feel like I need to say this because for some reason, I don't understand why we look at clips and we don't look to get further into the context of the clip that we are seeing. I don't know. It would help you contextualize what that person is saying to you if you go and view the longer clip. But since you don't, here's a response to all the people who were telling me about cops killing white people. I understand. Cops kill white, black, and brown people all the time. I get it. What I'm telling you is when the narrative changes in the media, when the narrative changes in the media, now we have an issue because they're fine when the narrative is they're just killing black people, right? And I said in the clip, we've seen that since the civil rights movement and even before, right? They are fine with that being in the media. When the narrative now starts to change, they're letting us know either you're with us or you're against us, and we don't care who you are. Because if white people are killed more than black people, why is that not in the media? Because that's not the narrative they want to share and or spread. Are you following me? So now that the narrative is shifting, that means things are shifting. That's all I was saying. So to all the people being like, but cops kill white people too. Okay. That's not what the message was. So allow me to contextualize it for you since a lot of you are very simple and you don't go and seek out context. All right. Now, without further ado, let's jump in to our local news. So, in our local news, the DHS responded to the vehicle strikes, the pepper spray incident in Hartford, Connecticut that happened last week. We talked about that in local news last week, and we just discussed what had happened and the response by the city. So, the Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin made a statement, I guess, on the behalf of Secretary Christy Nome, and this is what the statement said. I am going to read it in full. On the evening of January 8th, a mob of radical agitators in Hartford, Connecticut attempted to obstruct federal law enforcement officers by trying to block their vehicles and broke a window of a law enforcement vehicle. Now, I don't know if that is true because I haven't heard that they identified that vehicle as a law enforcement vehicle, but sure, we'll go with it. Make no mistake, obstructing federal law enforcement officers during the performance of their duties is not only dangerous, but also illegal. Secretary Nome has been clear. Any rioter who obstructs, impedes, or assaults law enforcement will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. We're going to pause right there. Any rioter who obstructs, impedes, or assaults law enforcement will be prosecuted or murdered, right? That should be also in parentheses. I guess maybe it is like the soft part that isn't spoken about, but is, obviously known. I don't think it will be prosecuted. It should say will be murdered because we did see that happen with Renee Good. So it should be will be murdered to the fullest extent of the law because clearly, because one of the TikTok comments said she parked her vehicle there for 12 minutes. So they don't care that she was killed. Excuse me? Parking my vehicle somewhere? I don't care if I'm like impeding you or obstructing you. Arrest the person. Shooting them is not the answer unless you want it to be. Then that should be in your statement. It should be will be dealt with to the fullest extent of their, gun power. Something like that. Prosecuted, I don't know because y'all ICE law enforcement people, yeah, they resort to violence immediately. But okay. Let's proceed on. DHS implores sanctuary politicians. Pause right there. I found this so interesting because there are a lot of politicians coming out and saying that they are, sanctuary states, cities, towns, whatever. And great, that's fabulous. But don't don't think that they won't use that against you because remember now, back in September of 2022, Big Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, bust all them Venezuelan refugees, asylum seekers that were in Texas, sent them all up to Martha's Vineyard where all the rich white people be who are the, blue state and so progressive and so woke. He put them right on their doorstep and said, I mean, you guys, want to be so woke and so progressive. So here you go. Be careful because I don't think, although this was Ron DeSantis, I don't think the Trump administration is above that. I really don't. I just don't. And I do believe Trump had came out and said he was going to do something to the like sanctuary states or whatever. And I'm like, y'all are just playing around. Yes, he's threatening to cut funding from some sanctuary cities. Like, okay. Anyways, so DHS implores sanctuary politicians to stop encouraging radical activists to confront and impede ICE and Border Patrol agents. They go on to say our officers are already facing a more than 1,300% increase in assault against them as they put their lives on the line every day to arrest murders, rapists, pedophiles, gang members, and terrorists. Here's the thing that I don't like, okay? Doubling down. They have got to stop doubling down on the issues that these ICE agents are running into. Just stop doubling down. You did the same thing when it was like Black Lives Matter. You double down into Blue Lives Matter, and it's like, stop doubling down and ignoring what people are saying just because you want your voice or your message to be heard louder. Understand what people are saying. take that into consideration and maybe bring it into the boardroom. But I guess that just happens to be too much common sense, right? It just happens to be too much common sense because when you want power in its totality. You want all consuming power, not anything where, again, it'll be a dictatorship. This isn't really a democracy because you are going to double down on things that just make sense. You should not be killing someone in the streets, talking about he got hit with the vehicle and he had internal bleeding. And everyone is saying who watched the video, I refuse to watch the video, but I've seen enough chatter on the internet to know that the vehicle did not hit this man. Who did it hit? And who was the officer? If like, I don't know. I just don't love the doubling down that this is. I don't love the sanctuary politician thing. I don't love, oh, if you're a sanctuary city, then we're gonna cut funding. Like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Let's listen to what people are saying and find a way to take that into consideration and work with it as opposed to just wanting to butt heads to butt heads. I think the Trump administration is like, have you guys ever seen State Property? I do believe, yes, it was State Property. Yeah, I see the movie way too many times. It was the first one. It was State Property. Beanie Siegel was trying to take over, the Philly streets, yada yada yada. And he was like, it's either get down or lay down. And that is how Trump runs his whole shit. It's get down or lay down. If you are doing anything that we don't like, hey, you can do what you want, but I'm gonna tell you how it's really gonna go. And that's just what it is with Trump. He gives very much get down or lay down. Like, what you gonna do? And that's not the best way to run a country that's supposed to be all about democracy and your vote matters and get out there and vote. Uh, Child, please. The last thing that I want to discuss in this is how many times they said radical. Radical must be the new buzzword. Before it was woke, it stopped working because remember, he started calling people on the right woke as well. So it kind of lost its power. It's lost its flavor a little bit. Now I feel as though radical is the new word. Stop trying to make these words negative. They're just not going to be negative, There's no need to constantly try to make this be this negative connotation. Oh, they're a radical, they're a radical, they're a radical. Like, okay. And I feel like they're going to do this with a lot of words. It's going to be radical, revolutionary, like all these words that usually mean good things. Usually means you're going to buck the system and ask questions and try to see change. They don't want that. They want you to be a sheep and like I just said, get down or lay down. That's all it is with the Trump administration, unfortunately. Unfortunately. With that being said, let's jump into our headlines. Now, I'm very excited about this one, okay? Because this one was something that was very refreshing to see, and it was something that I was like, "Oh, people should talk about this more." Now, that's not to say people aren't talking about it. I just haven't seen it besides this one headline. So, the Trevor Project receives $45 million from McKinsey Scott after difficult years and federal funding. And we know the Trump administration was cutting funding, okay? Now, the Trevor Project, known for its LGBTQ plus hotline, received $45 million from McKinsey, who is the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos, also the co-founder of Amazon. So when they got divorced, she got a bunch of money, child. And she's just been giving back to the people. So in 2025, she gave back nearly $7 billion to nonprofits. Her overall giving in that year was $26.3 billion. Child, I don't like when stuff get to bumping and rumbling, okay? What is going on? But anyways, yes, so she gave almost nearly $30 billion away. And I love that. What also I love is that most of her donations were unknown unless she publicized. I think she had like a website or something, or like a blog or something like that. She herself was putting out that she was donating this money. Other than that, no one knows where the money that she donated was going. They just knew that, I think she was like, I forgot how it was explained in the article, to be honest with you, but her donations were unknown, which is incredible. And I wanted to mention this one because in July, the Trump administration had stopped providing specific support for gays, trans, and gender nonconforming young people. So this definitely helped them. They had lost nearly 25 million in federal funding. And so that was just really great to see. I thought it would be interesting, right, as I'm reading this, if this was made like a requirement for billionaires and like them like multi-million dollar multi-millionaires. Who, I'm trying to get the word out. But it would be interesting, guys, if this was a requirement. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, because I thought it would be interesting, right? We have all of these nonprofit organizations, and a lot of them do need money. Now, mind you, this could be something that's happening, but I don't think it's happening in the sums of 45 million, and I don't think it's happening often. However, I feel like, okay, let me just get the thought out first before I get into this, because it'll make more sense once my thought is out. I believe they should be required to donate. I feel like either you're going to pay high taxes, right? So your money is sent back into the economy, to pay for shit, right? Higher taxes, or you donate a portion of your money to nonprofits. Now, that can get a little tricky because you can just open up a nonprofit and donate back to yourself, right? Quote unquote. Or donate to like your wife's charity, something like that, or your sister's or whatever. You know the loopholes, right? I feel like it would have to be something that's not connected to you, something where like, you donate to a school, but you can't do, like, if you donate like this, you donate 45 million to the Trevor Project. For the next 5 years, you can't donate to them. You have to find another organization. You know what I mean? Let them have that, because 45 million, come on now. That could last. You know what I'm saying? So like, you can't donate to them. Pick another organization. Something like that, where wealth is spread around to different organizations that need it, because especially for someone like me, who I work and see a lot of nonprofit and a lot of, small time organizations who, I mean, even a fraction, like 500,000, 250,000, 50,000 shit, you know what I mean, would be incredible. But it's so hard to get the funding, especially when you have administrations who could just come in and just start slicing and dicing at their whim where federal funding is going. So if you have these billionaires who now can either pay this extreme taxes, they might say, you know what? No, I'll just donate my money, and I think that'll be great. I don't know. I think it would be a great idea. Y'all let me know what you think. Of course, you would have to, it'd be a whole lot of trickery. It could be a whole lot of trickery, but I do think the idea of that is amazing. And I do appreciate Mackenzie. I know she had donated to a lot of, like, I don't want to say obscure, but a lot of HBCUs we've never really heard of or been popularized. Like, she wasn't donating to like Howard and like Spelman, but she was picking like the random, HBCUs to donate money to. And I think that's just incredible. So big, 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 big round of applause for Mackenzie Scott, because that is awesome. Next in our headlines, I wanted to get into this topic, not so much because it was an interesting story, but I wanted to get into this because you just gotta pay attention to things, okay? So Meta names former Trump advisor Dina Powell McCormick as president and vice chairman. Now, McCormick joined the Trump administration during the transition period and had remained there thereafter. So she served from March 2017 to January 2018 as the U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor for Strategy. Now, I found this to be interesting because remember when Trump had first got in office, and like during his campaigning, when it was looking like he was going to be the one in office, you had Mark Zuckerberg there. They were doing dinners. They're at Mar-a-Lago, all of these different things. And it's just very interesting when you pay attention to the headlines and start seeing who's ending up where and who's dropping in certain seats. It's very like insidious when your tentacles stretch so far. You know, it's one thing when it's like very in a political sphere, but when you're like social media, you got some people there watching and knowing what's going on. And then you're talking about Paramount and Larry Ellison and their and their whole situation, and with TikTok and Skydance and all this other stuff. You got some, Trump influence there. When it's just so spread out and all these different things, it's just like, hmm. And I'm fully aware of it's not what you know, it's who you know to get you into rooms and into positions. I'm fully aware of that, but I'm also just slightly concerned when your tentacles reach in places that, to me, it just does not need to be. Because once Trump is out of office, he's put people in positions that it's like they're always going to look out for him. Not only was he the president, but they're also like, oh yeah, he got me this big deal and he made this happen and now I'm sitting in this chair. It's just, I don't know. I just don't love it. I'm not going to lie. I don't love it. I totally understand that it's not what you know, it's who you know, and, networking. I get it, but I don't love this. Now, McCormick had previously served on Meta's board of directors, where Meta notes she was deeply engaged. Um, she was deeply engaged in accelerating its artificial intelligence push. Some more AI shit. I don't know. I just don't love the tech and the government engagement. I don't love it. I don't love it with Meta. I don't love it with TikTok at all. And when I say Meta, remember, Meta is, if I'm not mistaken, Facebook, Instagram, and I believe WhatsApp. So all of that is Meta. I don't know. And then you have TikTok. That's really the only, like, besides Snapchat, but no one really uses Snapchat. I haven't heard, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't heard too much with, Google and YouTube. They might be holding it down. They might be. I don't know. I don't know yet. Right now, they've been holding it down, but TikTok, now being sold to Larry Ellison, the US portion, and Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, child. And then the thing about Mark Zuckerberg, let's be honest, can we? Okay, let's be honest. He don't care who's sitting at the table. He gonna be chummy with him. He don't care. Once Trump up out of here, if the next president, whoever it is, if it's a Democrat, which I'm pretty sure it'll probably be a Democrat, unless they get real crazy, it'll probably be a Democrat. He gonna be chummy with him again, and he's just gonna flip flop. Like he don't really have a strong loyalty or anything like that. I don't know if Miss Dina needed a job and Trump was like, can you get Mark on the phone and see what we could do with Dina? Like, but that's what it gives. But again, the tech and government engagement and interminglings, I don't love. I think these appointments and these, selections to positions is just very sleazy. I think that on the highest level to the lowest level, I don't love it. I don't love, oh, so-and-so knows this person and they need a job, so can we get them a job? Can we put them somewhere? Can you, just kind of create a position? They're good at stapling papers. I don't love that. So I don't know. Just pay attention to those type of things, because why do you need your presence in all these different spaces? I don't know. It's just the things that I question. It's just the things that I question. Now, let's jump into our next topic. I definitely want to get into the deadly protests taking place across Iran. Now, I had seen this and I couldn't for the life of me understand what had happened. I just couldn't. So I said, you know what? I'm going to have to find someone who has a full timeline, and I'm going to have to read as much of the timeline as I can to kind of get an understanding of what is happening. So I went to Al Jazeera, and that's a website. They do news and things like that. So I looked at Al Jazeera's timeline to get an understanding of what was taking place in Iran. Now, beginning on December 28th, demonstrations had erupted and had taken place across multiple cities in Iran. And it was just a widespread revolutionary unrest. Remember, I said radical, revolutionary, start paying attention. I feel like these are going to be big buzzwords. But, anyways, so it was taking place across Iran because there was um this just collective, like I said, like a collective anger in my last episode, and a frustration over a record high inflation, food prices, and currency depreciation. Now, when I read that, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I said one day America will get on one accord. You know what I mean? One day. But I think there is enough happening where they do just enough to keep people fearful, and they do just enough to keep people what's the word that I'm looking for, y'all? To keep people separated, where we don't band together and we don't across multiple cities just all outright rage against the machine and rage against the government. We could never get on one accord like that. You know what I mean? Not to this degree at all, and not with the things that are taking place, you know? So that did happen. Now let's take a look more into this, right? So the Iranian president, he blamed the US and Israel for this unrest. I couldn't figure out why. If y'all in the comments can let me know why he blamed them, I could not figure out why. I was doing all types of research and I just couldn't understand it. So y'all let me know, because I was confused. And then as of January 11th, the internet had been down for 84 hours. And to my knowledge, please correct me if it has changed at this point, but it was still shut down. Listen, listen, Linda. This could quite literally never. Okay. If we got, let's just say, hypothetically, we all got on one accord. We all got on one accord. Great. The moment, and like I just said, Trump's tentacles are everywhere. Okay. They're all in Meta. They're all in TikTok. Okay. His tentacles are everywhere. The moment they got to shutting down social media apps, not even the internet, just social media apps and things like that. Hear me and hear me good. All that kumbaya that we was on while we was out there protesting and fighting the government. Oh, baby, please. It'll be over with. It'll be over with. Okay. People will start talking, because then what what would happen is people would be like, what are we doing this for? If you can't get on Instagram and show that you're out here protesting, what are you doing this for? People already do it for the gram. So now you think if that gets shut down, people gonna continue? Oh, baby, please. They gonna be like, this is how I make my money. I'm a influencer. I'm a content creator. They are going to be like, I'm finna go home because I need them to get my apps back up. If they start deleting accounts, please. And that's not even getting into them shutting down the internet. No. I'm talking about they just got rid of Instagram and TikTok. Oh, please. Or started deleting people like, oh, we've identified so-and-so as a protester, so we're going to delete this account. If you are seen posting about being at the protest, we're going to delete this account. Ciao. America would never last. The US would never last. Now, with that, let's keep following our timeline. So a U-Haul truck had plowed through a crowd of Iranian oh my goodness, hold on. This word is going to get me. Diaspora. Thank you. Protests in LA and one of the largest Iranian communities. I saw that headline. That was a really big headline. The UN chief, Antonio, condemns reports of violence and excessive force, meaning that he didn't think people should be going out, as far as like the Iranian government going out and like being, just real aggressive, murdering mothers in the street, stuff like that. Iranian accuses Trump of acts of terrorism with threats. His statements, and they're saying his statements could motivate terrorists to target protesters and security forces in order to invite foreign intervention. Again, I don't understand, because then the president goes on to say we are ready for war, but also for dialogue. Like, I still don't understand why he's blaming Trump. I haven't figured that out yet. Like, I totally understand him being like, because I think they're supporting the protesters. So they feel like because you're supporting the protesters, you're also kind of encouraging violence. I don't know. I don't know. It just wasn't connecting for me in that regards. Germany and Finland urged them to stop the attacks on protester. Trump suggests Starlink help bring the internet back. So he was looking to bring the internet back. There is a part that I wanted to get to, two parts, and then we'll kind of move on from this. So let me see here, guys. Yes. So the US president, meaning Trump, obviously, has warned Tehran, which is, I think they're like Iranian, like military or cops or whatever, of repercussions if demonstrators are harmed, while Iran has cautioned against foreign intervention. So Iran's like, look, we don't need your help. And Trump's like, well, if they keep behaving like this to them protesters, we're going to come over there. And Trump said he's considering potential military action against Iran if there's continued reports of violence. And like, he's saying he's going to come over there to put the whip down and stop this all. Now, here's where I was very frustrated, because how could Trump make such a statement like this when he is so bold in his stance against people protesting against ICE? You just had people protesting against ICE in Minnesota, and they shot Renee Good in the head. And your people, Kristi Noem, doubled down on the action. But then on the flip side, when protesters are out in Iran, you're like, it should be no violence against them. No violence against them. Trump, what the fuck are you talking about? So it's cool for protests in Iran, but it's not cool for your people to do it over here. And we're not even protesting and anything about the economy, because we could do that too, right? You do know that. So I'm confused, Trump. I really need some understanding and some clarity right now, because you're saying that you're looking to send in the military if Iran doesn't stop the violence against protesters. But violence is taking place against protesters here in America, and y'all are doubling down on that. So now I'm at a loss here. I'm at a loss here. When should they protest? I'm at a loss here, Trump, but okay. And then whole Trump's favorite little buddy or puppeteer, however you want to call him, I don't know. Israel is closely monitoring developments in Iran. Pro-freedom protests have spread across the country. The people of Israel and the entire world are watching in awe at the extraordinary courage of the citizens of Iran, Netanyahu said during a Sunday cabinet meeting. Again, BB, please come in. Are we going to act like what happened in Gaza didn't happen? Huh? Extraordinary courage? Huh? Like, am I in the twilight zone? Am I off? Am I off? Let me know, y'all. Let me know, because we got two people who are willing to kill people in their own country for protests, but they're proud of other protests in Iran. I don't understand. What are you talking about? What exactly are you talking about? It's pure confusion over here. Pure confusion. And last but not certainly least, Ron DeSantis, Florida. What the fuck, bro? Florida and these anti-Semitism laws. Here's the thing, right? In 2025, they had previously passed some anti-Semitism, Jewish, religious laws, bills, and things of that nature, right? They passed in July of 2025 the boycott of Israel prohibitions, basically meaning like you really couldn't boycott Israel. You couldn't go out and, as a business or an educational institution, government agencies, they couldn't boycott Israel. They couldn't say anything that would be against Israel. Fine. Also in July, they proclaimed that January 27th would be Holocaust Remembrance Day. Fine. Okay. Now, what they're looking to do, this is where it gets crazy for me. What they're looking to do is develop an anti-Semitism task force. Now, this proposed bill is to create an anti-Semitism task force to monitor anti-Semitic hate crimes and advise state on potential change in laws. What the fuck? Why are, like, I don't know if I'm off in this, but why in the fuck are they trying to force us to believe that this is really an issue? In America, everyone hates everybody. That's the way y'all made it. Everyone hates everybody. I don't know why they're doing Bibi's job of trying to get people to only love Israel. Again, what I said, if you try to force something down someone's throat, they're going to reject it regardless. They're not going to like it. Okay? So this anti-Semitism task force, please give us a fucking break. Enough already. We were supposed to be all about America first. That's what you Republicans were loving, right? America first, America first, America first. Ain't shit about this. America first. All this is making sure, just like Trump got his tentacles in some shit, Bibi got his tentacles all up and through the government, both sides. Okay, let's be clear. Don't think it's just Republicans. Nay, 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 nay. It's both. Okay. And the other thing they wanted to do was the expansion of hate crime. So another bill introduced in late 2025, looking to be passed in 2026, was to broaden Florida's hate crime statutes to include politically motivated offenses, increasing penalties for crimes committed based on a person's political beliefs. That's some more nonsense. That is some more nonsense. Okay? Because when you try to say like this is a real issue, especially for things that are non-existent, it makes it an issue. You know what I mean? And I just don't like this, because if this works in Florida, then you're going to have places like Texas and all the very heavily red states that they're just going to follow the same thing. And the whole time, don't nobody give a fuck. But you're trying to force people to believe that this is an issue, when in actuality, come on, it's really not. But with that being said, we are going to close out this episode. I've just had enough. I am exhausted of the Trump administration. I said it last episode. I'll say it again. I do believe that his his second term was very necessary. This term definitely showed us a lot of truths. We needed to see a lot of truths. A lot of people, as much as they hated, people saying woke and things like that, a lot of people had to wake up to the shit that they got going on, because the way people are now being like, oh, they don't give a fuck about none of us. Mhm. We saw a lot of important things, and I think this second term is going to be a lesson that we get to now carry on into the future. That does not mean they're not going to play the same games. That's not what that means. They've been doing this for years, okay? They're going to continue to do this. But at least we the people, as the Constitution say, we the people, we get to take this lesson and do something better next time to the best of our fucking ability, because Lord knows the way they rig, and just do all kind of shit. Yeah. Mind you, I wish I could put that in here, but it's late. We done already talked enough, y'all. But Steve Bannon got up there and be like, oh, Trump will have a third term. Trump will have a third term. I thought Steve Bannon was a cool guy. I don't know what the fuck crawled up his ass, but I thought he was a cool guy. And now I'm looking at him sideways like, what is actually going on? Just like another thing. I'm sorry, but another thing. I was liking Tucker Carlson, but now he's on this like white men are extinct type shit. And I'm like, okay, enough. Okay. Y'all have got to quit the narrative of like white men experiencing discrimination and this, that, and a third. Absolutely fucking not. Don't try to sell nobody that dream. We're not buying it, babe. No one is buying it. Y'all are absolutely ridiculous. Just because you repeat something 100 times does not make it truth. And I know that's what y'all are trying to do. Y'all are trying to just keep repeating it, creating this narrative. And at some point, it'll just be true. No. It's not happening. Okay. We are not that dumb. No, thank you. Anyways, with that being said, I'm about to watch this playoff game. If your team's not in the playoff, sucks to be you, but I'm about to watch my team in the playoffs, okay? Yeah. I'm so excited for that. Anyways, yes, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Black and Classic Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Monet. We will be here next Sunday. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All right, talk to y'all later. Bye.